Alright, so I let you guys vote on a little poll on our community page to decide whether I would do a Season 2 video where I talked about how the anime could do a Season 2 of Grimgar, or me talking about the themes of leadership in Grimgar. You guys all chose the anime Season 2, so we're gonna go ahead and talk about that. So before we start, I should probably mention that the anime took a lot of important things out of the story, specifically because these things were set up for future events in the story. For example, Hiyomyu was completely removed from the anime. She's still in the manga for some reason, though, which is kind of funny. She becomes a very important character by the end of Volume 14 and onward, but she doesn't really do anything up until that point. And in Volume 2, there's a giant orc invasion in Alterna. This is actually set up for Volume 3, and this would be the first arc in Season 2. Which, by the way, I do think that Season 2 can cover Volume 3 and 4 in approximately about the same amount of episodes as Season 1. Maybe a little more, if you want to give more details to the world. But overall, maybe 12, 13 episodes will be enough. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the first arc of Season 2, which is going to be the Deadhead Keep Assault. I will also be adding in one chapter from Volume 14 plus. I will let you know why I would put this chapter in the second season when we get to it. Keep an eye out for the next video, which I will be talking about the second arc of Season 2. First off, because of all of the things that were removed from Season 1, we're going to have to reincorporate, at the very least, the orcs assaulting the city in the very beginning of Season 2. So what we're going to do is have the characters follow the same thing they do in the light novel, which just starts up with Harihiro and the gang hanging out, killing kobolds in the mines. In the first episode, we can probably have the characters get reestablished and Ranta giving Harihiro shit because Harihiro is essentially too focused on trying to get the gleaming light to show up again because he feels really good about being able to kill Deathspot like he did at the end of the anime, and he's trying to incorporate and use the gleaming light at will. He can't, and it gets in the way, and he starts to lose focus in the fight, and this could get him killed. So Ranta gives him some admittedly more quiet than usual shit. He basically is talking to Harihiro and telling him that you can't focus on doing this. You're not a hero, so stop pretending to be some kind of superpowered hero. He says in a really rude fashion, like Ranta does, but he's essentially saying, stop focusing on things you can't control. Just be happy that you were able to kill that thing, and let's move on. That's what he's essentially trying to say, but he says it in a very Ranta way. So, rude and dickish. After that, Harihiro and his friends go back to Alterna, which they would just go off and sell their goods. And this is where you can reincorporate the orcs invading the city. Just have Harihiro off looking for a new knife, new armor, something just in the city by himself, because that's essentially what was happening in the story. And have the orcs start attacking the city. Have Harihiro get chased down by orcs, and have Renji come in, kill the orc that's chasing him, and then just go about the fight like they did in the light novel. Also, this would be a really good way to get the attention of those people who watch isekai. They can't really focus on things that aren't action-y. So it'd be a really good start to the anime in the first episode by having a really cool fight between Renji and an orc leader. Honestly, by this point, we haven't seen Renji fight or anything, so this would be a really nice showing of his power. And besides showing off how awesome Renji is in fighting, this is also a good time to establish two more things. Renji's leadership style. Essentially, his teammates are all terrified of him and listen to everything he says, even if it's a bad idea. They all stand in the back watching Renji fight the orc by himself because he orders them to, and it's heavily implied this is a very common occurrence. Another thing we can establish is Harihiro's insane admiration of Renji. He's in awe of just how awesome Renji is in this moment, and he thinks that Renji is incredibly good at everything he does. After Renji kills the leader of the orcs, all the orcs retreat. From that point onward, Harihiro parts ways with Renji's team, meets back with his team, and they talk about what just happened. They all talk about the attack and how it was affecting the city and how the city might retaliate in the future. The team would go back to their usual routine of killing kobolds at the mines for a little while, reestablishing new skills and abilities that the characters have gotten in the last couple days. And once the team returns to Alterna, a massive announcement would be made. Guild would announce an event, which essentially is them going off and inviting a bunch of volunteer soldiers to assault Deadhead Keep, which is one of the bigger areas where all the orcs are hanging out and are attacking from. And for those of you who are not aware, if an event is actually posted, anybody who is capable and strong enough to go on the mission should go on the mission, because if you don't, your reputation is kind of put into shambles, essentially. And this is kind of one of the ways that the city controls the volunteer soldiers in a way. It's kind of fucked up. However, due to the, let's say, not so honest posting of this event, it has been stated multiple times that this is going to be an easy mission to make easy money. Everyone gets 1 gold payout, which is a lot of money for a lot of volunteers, and more poor volunteer soldiers jump on this mission. This is what causes a lot of deaths in this volume. After making that announcement, Harihiro and the gang gang would discuss whether or not they would go on the mission. Hadahiro would be very hesitant to go on the mission because he's scared of losing his friend, like he lost Minato, but Ranta and Moguzu in the story actually were very gung-ho and wanting to go on the mission. In the anime, I would like them to actually make it so the event isn't done right away and more prolonged for about a week away from the initial attack. I want them to do this specifically to give Moguzu more character development and moments for him to shine, because this arc has a lot to do with Moguzu. So from where the event is announced to where the event would be actually initiated, I want them to have like a whole week of free time. In that week, I want them to actually introduce Choco to Hadahiro. Choco is a character that has a lot of connection to Hadahiro in Volume 3. I'll go into why that is in a little bit, but Hadahiro finds himself very drawn to this girl. After Hadahiro and his friends talk about whether or not they're going to go on the mission, Hadahiro postpones the final choice for a whole day. After that, he would go around just exploring Alterna, and he meets Choco. And then his mind and her mind are very drawn to each other for some reason. We don't know yet why. But she lets him know that she's going to Deadhead Keep with her group of friends. And the next day, when everyone decides whether or not they're going to Deadhead Keep, Hadahiro actually votes for it. Now that the decision has been made, for the next week, everyone will have to prepare. Within this week of waiting, I actually want them to have a quick little montage of Hadahiro meeting up with Choco here and there, because again, they are drawn to each other for some reason that they are not sure of, so they start hanging out for about a week and talking. Admittedly, very awkwardly, because it's Hadahiro, he doesn't really know how to talk to people without being awkward. And I also want them within this week to implement the short story from volume 14 plus with Moguzu and Ranta having a cooking contest. This would help flesh out Moguzu's character and show his kindness and his love towards his friends, and it helps add more to his character for this entire arc, because Moguzu has a big moment in this arc that I want to actually emphasize more with giving him more character development. After Moguzu obviously wins in the contest, because it's fucking Moguzu versus Ranta in a freaking contest of food. Ranta's terrible at cooking. I actually want Ranta and Moguzu to actually talk about retiring and making their own restaurant together. Ranta will handle the money management, which that's debatably a good idea or not, but it's up to Moguzu. And Moguzu will handle the cooking. Moguzu agrees, and they shake on it. Ranta, for the rest of the entire season, would actually refer to Moguzu as his partner, because that's what they are now, business partners. This moment is actually really big for Ranta's character development in the future, and it's also very important to Moguzu as well. And while yes, in the light novel, Minato was a big component to these moments, it'd be very easy to switch Minato out for Mary in this situation, make Mary the one that's more supportive of Moguzu here, because she does have moments with him in Volume 3, and this would be a good spot to actually set up Moguzu having feelings for Mary. For those of you who don't know, in the anime, they actually removed the certain moment where Ranta asked Mary who she would pick between the three of them. They actually removed her answering Moguzu because he's the most lovable. This is a big thing for Moguzu because he does genuinely have feelings for Mary. Him being supported by Mary during the cooking contest would actually be another thing that would help him out and make him more fleshed out. Everything I've just mentioned up until this point would hopefully roughly be about 2 episodes. After that entire week of preparation, the night before the actual event goes off, I want them to have the little moment they have in the light novel where Hadahiro, Moguzu, and Ranta cannot sleep. So they start talking to each other about the girls and how they feel about them. Ranta gives very vague answers. Clearly he likes Yume, but he doesn't want to admit to it, while Moguzu flat out admits that he has feelings for Mary. Ranta actually supports him and tells him to go for it. It's one of those really rare moments where Ranta's actually being a very good friend. Hadahiro doesn't really know what to think because he's not at this point sure if he has feelings for Mary himself or if he feels like he likes any of the other girls. After that night, they would get ready to go to Deadhead Keep. Once all the volunteer soldiers get to the outskirts of Deadhead Keep where they are safe from being attacked from orcs, they actually make a plan to push forward with ladders and shields to bring up to the keep. After the plan is laid out, we have a little moment with Moguzu being extremely nervous and scared of messing up, where he's removing his helmet constantly, mumbling to himself, and Mary gives him some very comforting advice to take a breath while she lays her hand on his chest. Again, emphasizing the small little possible amount of romance between the two of the characters. Once they actually get to Deadhead Keep, the event actually starts, and Hadahiro and his friends and all the volunteer soldiers that are there have to get ladders to the giant keep. Equipped with shields and very large ladders, They all move forward, blocking arrows coming down at them. Unfortunately for Choco's team, she does get attacked by 2 orcs. They come in out of nowhere. Hadahiro and his team get to back them up, and this is where you would actually introduce Kuzaku. Kuzaku in the volume is actually named Mr. Tall by Hadahiro, but this is a very good moment to actually introduce him and have a little bit of back and forth with him and Ranta. Due to the fact that he's very insecure, he would actually probably get annoyed with Hadahiro and his team actually being able to kill the 2 orcs pretty easily, actually. At that moment, Hadahiro and his team actually fought the 2 orcs without any preparation and without really knowing how orcs fought, and they were able to kill them without any injury. This was actually a really big morale boost to their team because they were so happy that they were actually able to do it without getting hurt. From that point onward, Hadahiro and his team would have moved to Deadhead Keep, put their ladders up, and had everyone go up towards the keep. This is actually a pretty good moment to start talking about the fact that there would be a lot of action at this point. Renji's up on the top of the keep, just throwing orcs off the edge and killing the shit out of everyone. This would be a really good spot to show how powerful Renji actually is, and how he can basically solo multiple orcs by himself, while Hadahiro and his team have to take on 2 orcs all together. Once that area was clear of orcs, Renji and his team go up a tower looking for the leader of the keep. Mainly because the leader of the keep has a giant bounty on him, and Renji wants that moonie. Hadahiro actually follows up after Renji, and then he sees Renji and Ron, one of his teammates, surrounded by orcs, while his other teammates are stuck in a corner basically getting pinned down. Hadahiro and his team go in to help the ones who are pinned in the corner, and then Moguzu, Ron, and Renji wipe out the rest of them, and then runs back downstairs to a more open area. After Hadahiro and his team have a moment to collect themselves, they go back down the stairs following Renji, and then they see a giant mess of orcs and people fighting. I cannot emphasize enough how much of a mess this section I'm going to talk about actually is in the light novel. But imagine Renji in the middle of an open, huge area, fighting one very powerful orc that he cannot fight by himself, mind you, in the middle, surrounded by hundreds of orcs and a bunch of volunteer soldiers. Everyone's fighting for their lives in this area. And Hadahiro and his team try to help out, but unfortunately, they get their asses kicked and they have to retreat. Before they retreat, Hadahiro witnesses Choco and her team all get wiped out. Choco gets stabbed to death by an orc. Because Hadahiro witnesses Choco's death, his mind has a, let's say, panic attack, and he remembers all of his past life with Choco for about a second. He remembers that he was actually in love with her and they used to be friends in his past life. However, due to his memory loss thing that I'm not going to go into because of spoilers, he does forget everything the moment he remembers it. He then retreats back up towards the tower that he came from, and he has to recuperate with his friends. Hadahiro has a surprise, another mental breakdown, takes him over to collect himself, and then he looks back down towards the open area. Hadahiro then comes up with a good plan to take out all of the shamans that are flying around shooting magic at people, and then they'll strategize from there. From that point onward, Hadahiro and Ranta are primarily responsible for killing the shamans while their friends support them, but they do take out the powerful shamans roaming around and annoying the crap out of everyone. These shamans were shooting fire at people, they were shooting bugs, they were healing other orcs. It was a mess. Yes, there are also other volunteer soldiers that were actually involved in the fight as well, but they don't really matter all that much to the overall story, so I didn't really want to talk about it all that much. But there is a group of volunteer soldiers who are all women, who quite frankly don't really matter to the overall story. After killing the shamans, Hadahiro and his team support Renji while he's fighting the orc leader. Hadahiro actually has to hold Renji back from fighting the leader for a second so Mary can heal all of his wounds, because he is covered in wounds from head to toe at this point, and have Moguzu switch out with him. Moguzu fights this guy tooth and nail. Moguzu also gets beat up quite a lot in this entire fight, but he fights as the best he can. It's crazy. Moguzu just goes ham in this fight. It's so cool. After Renji is completely healed, he rejoins the fight, and it becomes a 2v1 with some additional help from Ranta's hidden run tactic. They still have problems fighting this guy. This orc is immensely powerful. He dual wields axes, he's covered in armor, and he's just terrifying. Hadahiro sneaks up behind them and gets in a backstab. It doesn't really do much, but it does distract the orc. This allows Moguzu to slam down his sword onto the orc's shoulder, wounding him really badly. The orc immediately tries to move away and run, but Hadahiro pins him down with a knife to his foot and holds on. The orc starts kicking and punching the crap out of Hadahiro to get him off. The moment he gives Hadahiro the attention, everyone, and I mean everyone, from Mary to Renji, Moguzu to Ranta, everyone surrounds the orc and beats him to death. Eventually, all the other orcs started getting wiped out as well, and Hadahiro is left on the floor, exhausted and in pain. And he sees Moguzu's body standing very limp, and he just falls over and dies. Because the entire time, Moguzu was taking so much damage from this orc, and was the primary one who was guarding everyone. Honestly, I think you could probably cram all of this into maybe 5-7 episodes, and I think it'd be really, really cool. And that would be the first arc of season 2 of Grimgar. That is exactly how it ended in volume 3, and my god, was my heart broken. If you want me to make more videos like this, let me know in the comments down below, or hit the like button. I'll be making the next video as soon as I can, and I'll see you guys in the next video.